I just want to kind of give you a little introduction on what we're going to be doing today and what to expect while you're here for your 2 hours. So the Community Development Department, as you know, we are updating our zoning ordinance and adding Title Article 73 to our Chapter 21 zoning ordinance. And today is an opportunity for you to input and provide any comments to us on any topics and subjects that we have. What we've designed today are 6 tables, and these tables are basically for you to provide input. And we've broken the tables down based on topic areas that we received much comments about. So, as you know, we have table cards on each table, and we've identified what topics are at that table, but I just wanted to kind of iterate what they are. So if you're at table 1, and we have Kim Hunter, and we have Melissa Frosto from Lake County Associates with us today. They help us with our staff reports. They do our presentation on our Laco and Associates, and they do our staff reports, and they present at the Planning Commission hearing for us, and they've been doing a great job. And table 2 is Andrew Amalong, if you raise your hand, Andrew. And Andrew is actually going to be going over hydrology, water issues, and our drought management plan. And then we have table 3 in the back. We also have another Laco and Associates consultant with us. And we have Laura Hall, which is our senior planner here with our department. And they're going to be covering water recycling, hydroponics, and community outreach. We have table 4, which is right here, right back there. And we have our chief building official, that's Bill Collins. He's going to be going over fire and life safety standards, as well as 4290 and 4291 standards. And then we have table 5 here. We have Joey Valdez, the third. And Joey's he's with our code enforcement unit. They've been doing a great job in code enforcement, so he's going to be handling any questions regarding illegal or legal grows here in the county. And then we have table 6 in front of me, and in table 6 we have Jamie Henry, and Jamie's going to be dealing with temporary cannabis events, permits, as well as generators. All of our planners are subject matter experts in each area, but if you have questions in areas where they're not, feel free to ask any questions, because that's what our comment sheets and cards are for. And as you heard yesterday at our Board of Supervisors hearing, there will be a task force forthcoming to review any issues and concerns that we may have. And at that time, all of these comment sheets will be forwarded and transforwarded to our task force. And then we will be providing a project schedule from there. Okay? And have fun. Okay? Thank you so much. Comment cards. One other thing, please make sure you fill out comment cards. Okay. And would you like to speak into the microphone?
If you want me to.
Thank you, sir.
The ordinance has a lot of different things in it that some of which are different from what the state requires, and everyone getting a permit here has to also get one from the state. And it seemed to me that it would be a lot easier, not only on the applicants, but on the planning staff as well, if the stuff that's in the state ordinance that everyone has to comply with doesn't really need to be in this ordinance. Because, like I said, it can be referenced to here that, if there are changes in the state ordinance, they have to comply with whatever those changes are. But the county ordinance here really only needs to have in it the stuff that's going to be specific to the county, separate from what the state's already requiring. And I think that'll streamline this a lot, and it'll also cut down on a lot of confusion within the planning department and between planners and applicants, I think. That's just an idea that I had.
I think that's a great idea, and to be honest, we are really trying to model the state more and to put a clause in the ordinance that actually state that.
Right.
So if it's something that the state is already addressing, we would like to put a clause in there that would state that.
Yeah.
But since I wrote the first draft of it, and when I was when I received comments that they wanted to kind of model what the state was doing in the short time that we had to kind of pull it all together. That's what I did. So it may have some type of redundancy in it. But in my presentation to the board yesterday, I started off by saying I think that we need to develop a pathway where we have others to input their comments. And that's how we came up with the task force. So I'm very happy about that. I realize how huge of a project that this is.
Wow.
And only being here 7 months, I thought that more of the experts needed to come in and lend a hand. But we still need as many comments as possible, because I think that even the experts still need a little bit of something. So I think that all the brains working together is going to get us to a point where we become one of the state-of-the-art ordinances as it relates to cannabis.
I think so. This is definitely a brainstorming thing.
And that's so exciting, and I'm very happy to be a part of the whole process and bring the community in with our comments.
Thanks for pulling it together.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
We're talking about electrical outlets inside of a greenhouse, how they're going to mount them, how they're going to get the electricity to the greenhouse. I told them it needs to be in a trench. Low plugs that are going to be near a splash zone would need to be a wet location plug, and higher up plugs. This is going to be a judgment call by our building inspectors. If they don't think that it's in a splash zone, then we'll go with a damp location plug.
My name's Omar Malfavon.
Okay.
And we're working on a...
We were just awarded our major use permit for our project Walnut Ranch, which encompasses
12 greenhouses.
Yeah, so we're getting all the technical. We came with our building permit halfway filled out, getting ready to submit it, and making sure with Bill that we've got all the elements we need. So when we go to the planning department to submit it, it's not like, oh, you forgot something.
Hey, that's great. So are you guys, are you just part of the community? Are you part of a group, or?
Oh, we're part of the community.
Awesome.
Yeah. We were here yesterday, but then we didn't get to talk to all the people that we wanted to.
Okay.
So they were like, yeah, this is general. You can come back today too.
I'm glad you came back. And what's your
I
name?
appreciate Emily. Yeah, I appreciate
Thank you guys so much, and I'm sure you're in good hands here.
We've been talking a lot. Well, we've been really covering almost everything. We started with water recycling and research, but Mary is a local grower and she's got a lot of experience in the field, and so she's got a lot of ideas based on this ordinance of things that she'd like to see involved. Do you want to talk about a few of those things that we've been talking about? You let me. Well, one of the main issues is the ways that this ordinance deviates from state requirements.
Okay.
And that's a common comment we're getting.
Okay.
Is it makes it difficult for the county when people are going through the water board and getting one set of standards and then getting a different set of standards at this level. So, one of the things that we can look at is consistency between the two ordinances.
I will tell you that it was our goal and our objective to kind of model what the state requirements are. As the ordinance came in as a draft, we were originally working with a committee, and we're working on a draft, and we tried to mirror after the effect some of the regulations of the state. So you may see some state regulations in the ordinance, and then you'll see some new text amendments in the ordinance. And so the purpose of the task force is to look at that and try to move it forward and make it closer. I'm going to make an assumption that's what our task force is going to do, because that's kind of like what our goal was. And so originally we were going to take the ordinance and we're going to say per state requirements, and so the ordinance wouldn't have been as long. But because it took us so long to put it together and all the comments kind of came out after the effect, it was like push it out to get the conversation started, and then let's massage it together. So that was really my whole goal of letting it loose. The other thing is, with the revised ordinance, I wasn't given the authority to release it prior to any organization. It had to go through the Board of Supervisors first. So I actually kind of appreciate that I had a shock effect, because it made everybody come out. So sometimes you need to shock the people to come out to get the voice voice that you need. And so my whole goal was to shock you, to get you here, and then to ask the Board of Supervisors, thank you so much, I accomplished my goal. And then to ask the Board of Supervisors to create a pathway in which we can move forward. And they did so by creating the task force. And so now with the task force, we'll be able to look at the different categories as it relates to land use and zoning, the environment, as well as the community. And so I'm very happy and pleased that we are actually moving along. Now, a lot of people might think I'm a ding-dong for doing that, but I think that that approach and that strategy worked well, because now we are getting the voice of the people, and the community is what we're here to serve. So thank you so much for being here.
When Andrew came on, everything just became it was easier to deal with one person. He was very, very good at getting back to us. I mean, down to the minute. If he said he was going to call at 4 in 1 second, the phone rang. You know, but it really made a big difference for us to be able to have a person that we could go to and find out the status, because up to that point, nobody in our community knew that we had so many cannabis projects that were coming in. And I think that's one of the problems that you still see in the county, because nobody in the county in this area knows all of these that are in queue, because it's not made public. Right. You know, and it isn't, many people don't even know, they don't get notices for the Planning Commission or anything like that. If I could make a suggestion, yes. What I would love to see is somebody in the county develop a little spot on the county website that has all your public notices. Because right now I have to either pay for Record B, which I won't, or I have to drive up here to look in the hallway to see if there's something, and it's, you know, an hour and a half round trip. But if you could put all your public notices in one spot, all of us could go see it. It would totally fulfill your, you know, your designation to have to tell the public about what's there, and then we would be able to know, you know, straight up front, and it would just make so much more sense.
So thank you for that, and I will take the blame for the cases not being uploaded to the website. So they should be. And like, so when you like the cases that are coming forward to Planning Commission and all our noticing, it should be on our website. We lost our PC support staff person, and when that happened, that process kind of...
I never knew that it was on there, and I've been here for 22 years.
So they did have, when I first got here, they were actually uploading the staff reports and the notices of what cases were moving forward. But we do have a new PC support staff person. His name is Jim Feenan, and I will ensure, promise, that the next Planning Commission hearing, everything will be uploaded onto the website.
Or even, yeah, so anything that's supposed to be publicly noticed.
Yes.
Like a notice of intent.
Yes, a notice
like I just sent one.
Okay, so we haven't been doing that, but we can start doing that. So that's a great suggestion. So we will do that. We'll make that, and it won't be that difficult to make that change.
So for instance, right now, you know, I go in twice a week to sequence to find out what's been uploaded.
Okay.
That could even be online, so we could know.
Sure.
Okay.
Because then you're going to get more valuable response earlier.
Right.
You know,
well, it's one of those things since we lost Carrie Ann last year,
right.
And then all the labeling and noticing kind of fell on all the planners on top of everything else they had to do, and that's where you started seeing errors with notifications and stuff. But having Jim now fill her space has been really helpful. He's done this job for Mendocino County for a long time. He lives here in Lake County. It's such a lucky find to get him on board.
Right. So yes, that's an easy fix that we definitely can do.
Are you going to put your maps up too, showing? And I'm not even talking about cannabis, but I'm talking about permits in general. You know,
a lot of the notice, like a notice of intent, will include a site plan on the second page quite often.
Okay.
But as far as like an online portal showing everything, I don't know.
I think that might be I think we might have to phase that, but I can say that with the notices of intent, we can take care of that fairly easily. And then with anything else, we would probably have to phase it into the process, because things are making.
Yeah, well, anything like that. So that, I mean, because it's been there, but you know, the other thing too is...
There's a huge concern from the cannabis industry about that. They feel like that's a treasure map to get robbed by, you know,
Right, except there's so many illegal ones surrounding all of it. That,
Yeah, no one really knows exactly where. I don't know.
I think that
people out there know.
I'm sorry, Andrew. I think those are maps that were created in-house by Andrew. He's our he has a GIS expert, and so we haven't gotten to the point yet where we are officially releasing those maps. However, when Andrew goes to his planning commission hearing, he is actually doing his cumulative impacts based on the data work that he's done. But we're not at a point yet where we're actually uploading and have a spot where we're constantly updating that map right now. But I think that once we go through the task force, we'll be prepared to address that issue.
Okay. Hey, one other thing too, when these presentations come on, to the board in front of Zoom and everything, you can't read anything. You cannot read anything at all when you're on Zoom. So some of them you can. If it's a certain font or it's a certain size, you can.
I've been planning on actually to address that, have slides like where I show the overall map, then the next slide, then I zoom in. Because I know when you're watching on Zoom, you cannot see so clear. And I've been attending with consultants serving the planner role. I've been using Zoom room to answer questions, and I'm experiencing the same thing, the resolutions.
So maybe we can have a conversation internally in-house. I'll have one with Andrew and see what we can do about our presentations, and maybe we could
talk with IT about the resolution.
Okay. Okay. So that's something we can definitely address and put it on your comment card. Thank you guys so much for coming, and we appreciate you for being here. Thanks, Andrew.
Do you have a question? Oh no, Linda did. Karen probably does too.
Questions that they were addressing, and they had to do with hoop houses.
Yeah, a lot of hoop house
and
questions.
I didn't know whether or not, from the wording that I was seeing there, which I understand is still draft, are hoop houses going to be allowed, and under what standards? I feel that the definitions that are in the draft ordinance leave one to believe that hoop houses are allowed for outdoor. But if hoop houses also are valuable in keeping moisture, which is what, and protecting the grows and the plants and such, I think that it just should be worded maybe a little better. I wrote some comments about that, but that's one thing I just wanted to understand if hoop houses were going to be allowed. My understanding they are not allowed right now, and therefore they may be considered to be allowed in here. That's my one question. And another big question is this new ordinance going to address the NOA from the Water Board date of October 31st, 2020? Is that gate going to open up after that?
Right. Those are excellent questions. They're very good questions. Unfortunately, I can't answer those questions for you right now. I do know that hoop houses are allowed outdoor currently with our existing ordinance. Yes. I don't know if we haven't considered yet hoop houses being extended to include indoor. So that's something that we're going to have to address with the task force.
Okay.
But I think that's awesome.
Indoor operation, whether or not they can have a hoop house in conjunction with their indoor greenhouse.
Right.
Maybe the question might be, why would they need it? And you might want to ask maybe a grower that.
I know for hoop houses and structures like greenhouses and stuff like that, they have to be ADA compliant. They have to go through the 4290, 4291 regulations. They got to go through our building department, and that's all he talks about are these structures that has to be compliant for indoor. So that is something that we are actually reviewing right now. That's new for us. I shouldn't say for us. I should say that's new for me. And our chief building official is definitely addressing that. And in the presentation, we touched upon a little bit the 4290 and the 4291 standards and the requirements for hoop houses for indoor and outdoor. And I think that's very, very new in which he introduced. So that's something that we're going to have to flush out more at the task force.
And I guess you could look to other jurisdictions who do allow hoop houses.
Yeah.
What are their standards, and by what definitions or by what regulations do they allow the hoop houses?
Okay.
That's my understanding. I thought it was in the ordinance that hoop houses were not allowed.
But
you're saying
I
that they
looked
are.
very carefully the other day because we have a project that, it was, like I said, was encouraged to do the hoop houses, but it's in the prime farmland, and so that was a question. Yeah.
Location.
It may be, and so it might be qualified. But like, for example, in Trinity County, they require a building permit, and it's considered a temporary structure that can only be up for 180 days for the outdoor cultivation season. It doesn't quite make it.
To me, I think that's really something to consider, because if you're allowing for events, in here I saw that you're looking to allow
The temporary cannabis
so
events?
then those are temporary in nature, and they have certain time frames to be allowed to exercise their use. Then that could be a part of a condition that would be allowed. The same thing for hoop houses, possibly. You're allowed to use them for this purpose for this many days, and knowing that you have the use, but you have a definition of time when you do it.
The building official, that correlated with a temporary structure type of language in the building code. So the 4290 was a little different on that because it wasn't a permanent structure. But I'm not 100% sure.
And the other confusion was in here when they had the definitions. In there, under the greenhouses, they were defining, but then they called movable greenhouses, tents, and hoop houses as non-structures. But then they go on to define hoop houses, but they don't define movable greenhouses or tent.
Okay.
So it would lead you to believe that hoop houses are allowed.
Okay.
And
I will definitely look at that and look at those definitions.
If it's going to be allowed, then it should be in there, and it just maybe even the additional language that says they're allowed with adopted regulations or standards. Then you don't have to come back to the ordinance to change that. You can just adopt standards off to the side, and then they would be applicable.
Okay, that's great. Great recommendations. And please make sure you have all that on your comment
I do
cards.
have that on my comment.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.